everyone! So I thought today I would film a Q&A video. So a couple of weeks ago I did a live stream and it was so much fun hanging out with you guys and talking to you and editing photos with you. And I realized that you all had so many questions that you wanted answered to do with the business side of photography or to do with what I preferred when it came to portrait photography and things like that. So I thought it would be the perfect time to film a Q&A. So I asked on Instagram for you guys to ask me any questions, and those are the questions I'm going to answer today. Jumping straight into it, the first question is fave season to shoot. For me, my favorite season to shoot would be autumn because autumn in Australia has the best sunsets I've ever seen. I love the sunsets during autumn. The other great thing about autumn is that it's not ridiculously hot like it is in summer, and it's not too cold as well for the models like it is in winter. How effective has Instagram and YouTube been for you in getting client work for fashion and wedding photography? So I find that posting on social media is more effective in me getting fashion and portrait photography work compared to weddings. So with fashion photography, posting on social media has helped me gain a bigger reach with my audience, and it's thus helped me be able to book in more portrait photo shoots and more fashion clients as well. With weddings, on the other hand, I find that it's more important to create a good connection with your client, and the majority of work that I get for weddings is actually via word of mouth from previous clients. With weddings, you can post on social media, but I feel like the most important thing is to have a really great website that showcases your work and exactly what you do. Something like this is very much each to their own. Some people do make a lot of wedding bookings via social media, and other people like me just don't. It's all about experimenting and finding out what works best for you and your business. In all your pictures, models all seem so natural. How do you direct your models? So I actually don't really pose my models that much. If you guys have watched any of my behind the scene videos, I do like to get my model into the position of the location that we're working at, but then I like to tell them to move around really freely, and I give them little instructions here and there of things that I like and things that they can do to improve the pose that they're already doing. I find that this way it keeps things looking a lot more natural because the model can get into the zone of the shoot and kind of do her own thing, and the same thing goes for me. So in regards to editing, do you think people normally don't pay attention but it makes a huge difference in the photo? Yes, definitely. Editing, I think, is what takes your photo from okay to being super amazing. Some people don't edit their photos at all and have an amazing portfolio, but I think editing is where you can add the finer touches to an image to really take it to the next level. So this doesn't really mean that you should go ahead and add like 100 filters to your photo and retouch it so the skin is like blurry perfection. I find that more subtle editing actually makes a bigger impact on the photo. Generally, my workflow is to edit the colors and the tone of an image in Lightroom, and then I take it over to Photoshop where I do frequency separation retouching, which keeps the skin looking really real and natural by retaining all the texture. If you guys want to see a tutorial on my workflow, I have a detailed video about that, and I'll link it in the description below for you. I own a Nikon camera and wondered if you think there's a difference between Nikon and Canon. So I've been doing a few photo shoots recently using both a Canon camera and a Sony camera. And one of the big points that I wanted you guys to take away from those behind the scene videos is that it doesn't really matter what brand of gear you're shooting with. You can still create photos within your style and create photos of what you're after. So to answer your question in short, there are some technical differences between the cameras and the lenses between Nikon and Canon, but you can still definitely create the same kind of photos. What photographers do you take as reference for your own work or that you find inspiring? When I first got into photography, I was absolutely so inspired and I adored the work of Tim Walker. If you don't know who he is, you have to check him out because his work is amazing. But as I started growing as a photographer and I was growing my business, I actually found that I was more inspired by specific locations that I would do photo shoots at. I was inspired by a model's look or a makeup artist idea or the idea of a stylist of a photo shoot that she wanted to do. So rather than being inspired by other photographers' work, I am more inspired by the actual aspects of a photo shoot instead. So this is a question that I've been getting a lot recently, and it's, would you recommend me to get a Sigma 24mm 1.4 for my Canon? I want something wide but not too wide. So the 24 and the 35 are two wide angle lenses. If I had to pick one, it would definitely be a 35mm lens. This is because the 35mm is a wide angle lens, but it doesn't completely distort when you take a close-up portrait. The 24mm is that little bit too wide and it can cause some crazy distortions in a close-up portrait, so I find that the 35mm is more versatile. If, however, you're using a crop frame sensor camera, then I would recommend to go for the 24 as it would look more like a 35. Posing tips for natural couple shoots, what do you tell them to do? So just like my fashion shoots, I try not to tell the couple to do too many things. I find that if you tell them to look down, put your shoulder here, keep your hand there, put your feet this way, and do this and that, it can become a little bit overwhelming and they might become a bit too self-aware of where each of their body parts are, and that can start coming through in their face and you might not be able to get such a natural photo of them. So I prefer to tell couples to do general things, and every now and then I will give them a little instruction so it's not too much and it's not too overwhelming. So a couple of things that I love to do is to get them to hold hands and walk away from me and then walk back. And I'll tell them to kiss while they're walking, to laugh, to talk to each other. I also love to get my couples to be facing each other with their arms around each other, and I get them to talk a little bit while I get a few different angles. I get them to kiss, I get them to touch foreheads and little things like that. I really want to do a video on how to pose couples, as that's something that I love taking photos of, so I'm going to work on that really soon. How did you find your photography style? So for me, I'm a very hands-on person and I love to get out there and do things so I can learn and even learn from my mistakes as well. So I feel like finding my photography style, I went out and I took photos all the time. I would always have a photo shoot planned. I would always say yes to any client that would offer me a job, and I would just experiment with everything. As time went on, I would always reflect on my portfolio and the photos that I was taking and kind of pinpoint what I really loved, what I could work on better, and what didn't really feel right to me. And from there, I just focused on getting more photos that I loved and felt really proud to have in my portfolio. If you had to get rid of all your lenses except just one, which one would you keep? I think you guys can answer this question at the same time as me, but it would be my Canon 35mm 1.4. Do you ever use flash, and if not, have you ever considered it? I personally prefer using natural lighting for my fashion photography, as that is the brand and the style that I've built my business around and what clients come to me for. So I don't really have an interest in using flash while I'm shooting outdoors. I do, however, use flashes when I'm shooting weddings, specifically the reception of the wedding, especially if it's indoors and a really dark venue. I like to use the flash as a fill light by either pointing it up into the ceiling or down by one with the little white bouncy card out, and it just adds more light to the image instead of having to use a high ISO. Other than that, if I'm shooting fashion lookbooks or e-commerce in a studio, I like to use off-camera softboxes and strobes for the lighting. Last question is, are you planning to come to Poland again this year? Based by Dan's last name, does he have Polish roots? Yes, Dan's last name is Podborewski, which is Polish, and he has lots of family in Poland, which we love to go and visit. So we go to Poland every couple of years, and we actually have a visit planned in March next year, which I'm so excited about. We went last year to see them as well. And this time when we go to Poland, I would love to organize some meetups with you guys, as I know a lot of you are from Poland. So that'll be really exciting and I can't wait. So I think I've answered about a million questions in this video. I really hope that you found it helpful. If there's a question that you want answered in my next Q&A video, please follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, as that's where I ask you guys to ask me questions for these videos. Or you can just leave some more questions in the comments below and I'll have a look at this video next time I'm filming a Q&A. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!